Hi guys, in this video I wanted to share how it is we schedule out the Notgrass history for our ninth grader where it is not too stressful for her but we're able to get it all done. Alright, I did want to make this video separate from our end of semester video since this is a heavy curriculum and I didn't want, where a great portion of that video would have been, would be taken up talking just about history. All right, so about a month ago, I did a video where I was sharing, this together with writing and grammar, all three of those being, what were the tough choices this school year, how they were going, a few things that we added in and stuff. And I'll link that video above because in that video, I went into a little bit more detail as to, how we're liking this. In general, we do like it as a Christian family, but I did have to, add a few things. But in this video, I want to focus on how we get it all, fit in. All right, so she does this 45 minutes, 5 days a week on a 5-day when we have a 5-day full, full week. If there's a short week, which we've had 3 so far, she would use those, to continue working on a project or essay that she's working on, which kind of takes a little bit of stress off of her. Plus, I kind of like where we just, it runs, from Monday to Friday as opposed to having to run over into another week. That's just a personal preference. Coming down, if at the end, coming to the end of the school year, that poses a problem, we will change, but for now, that's what we do. All right. For the scripture reading, which in the beginning is not that many, but as the curriculum progresses, sometimes they might be required to read a few chapters. So what she would do is the night before or the week before, she would look at the scripture reading that is required, and if it's manageable in the morning when she's having her breakfast, she would do that for her scripture reading, because they usually would, read whether it's their children's Bible or for her Bible while they are eating their breakfast. So that's where she would do her scripture. That's when she would do her scripture reading. I did ask her if it is she didn't read the scripture before, if she thought that it would have been any difference. Because I was thinking that it might have been, but she said no. The only difference is that, she probably have a little bit more understanding because she's read it before. So I did want to mention that. The In Their Words book. Now, we do read this when it is according to, how it's laid out here. However, I did want to mention that we found that quite a few of these, selections can be a little bit more challenging to read. And the approach that we are taking with this is that she is reading it as it's laid out here during that 45-minute period. However, we are not over focusing or over emphasizing on this. What I said to her and to my other 2 younger daughters is that sometimes you might read something that is above your reading level, and even if you don't understand it all, it challenges, your reading, and your understanding. So whatever we glean from here, if it adds to, reading whether it's a poem or a hymn or something from somebody in history based on, how they lay out the, world history here, we read it, we take it as it is. And, that's how we're handling this In Their Words book, because some of it is a bit challenging. All right. All right. So the first book focuses on biblical ancient history, and then the Middle Ages at about 14. Now we are now going to be starting unit 14 Monday, God's way. All right. So we have just finished with ancient biblical history. We're going to be starting the Middle Ages, which starts around 14, and then book 2 finishes off the Middle Ages and attempts to pick up modern era history, modern history. All right, and I say attempt because in my opinion it probably because it is history from a biblical perspective, which means it's probably focusing on how history, Christianity spread, from, the Roman Empire to Europe and then the rest of the world. Because of that, a lot of it the second book focuses on Europe. It does have a unit one dedicated to Asia, one to Latin America, and one to Africa. That's 26, 27, and 28 those units. And then a few lessons within, I believe it's probably unit 19 and 29 touches on different parts of the world, but for the most part, it focuses on Europe, right? And with that being said, I would share this again in this. I'll try not to stay too long. We did add a few. Now, this is a pretty heavy read. She didn't read this year. She actually read this at the end of 7th grade, heading into 8th grade. And over the summer, she was reading a few passages from here because, there's one of the African kingdoms that she has a lot of interest in, so she was reading that over, and there's an Asian kingdom as well. But anyway, so she was reading a little bit of that. So I'm glad that she read this. But this year I did add these 3 together with the readers that come with this curriculum, and I'll share how she was able to get all of this done. So I did add this concise world history, all right, and history of the Caribbean, and this African people in world history. I would say that this is like a really concise version of this, very concise. It's not as complete as that, but this. All right, so I did add these 3 readers, and it might be good to know that this particular child of mine is not really intimidated by, well, not really. She is not intimidated by reading, so it didn't make it like, burdensome for her. All right, so on that note, how we were able to get the supplementary books or the readers in, of course, it tells you when to read it in the book. And what you would do is after school, they have like 20-minute, we call them 20-minute things, but about an hour or so after school during their free time, they have 20 minutes that they read. They've been doing that. Actually, I was asking her today how long she thinks that they've been doing that. I want to say it's about 3 years or so. I think I started them having, having a dedicated 20-minute period to read every day, 7 days a week. So it's become a habit. So now what she does is during that 20-minute period, she would do her reading, right? Now, if she wanted to move ahead during her own free time, she might finish up one of the novels or something like that, but that's where she would do like a scheduled reading. So she would just swap out whatever library book or personal reading, and she would get her reading done during that 20-minute period, right? As I said, they have like 3 things that they do on like for about an hour after school, and one of them, some of those days, is writing. During that period is when she would work on like dedicated period, she would work on one of her essays, right? That would be she have essays for writing and for history. So sometimes she would use that time for that, but then she would also have to use some of her free time because of course 20 minutes is not enough time for her to, actually finish, an essay, even if she took all 20 minutes, 5 days a week. But sometimes she does take that 20 minutes and, even if it's just to start on the draft or whatever, she would use those periods to get her essays and work on her projects. All right, so that's how she's able to fit those in. To talk about the readers a little bit, there's quite a few genres that they have here, and the way how I'm looking at this, if it is you have a child that really likes classical books and books written from the past, maybe they may enjoy it. We are looking at it as she's getting exposed to quite a variety of genres of writing, and just taking it for the history that it is, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So there are 2 books that are biographies. The Hiding Place, Here I Stand. There's a play, Julius Caesar. A devotional, The Imitation of Christ. An apologetic work, The Abolition of Man. A military treatise, The Art of War. A memoir, Bridge to the Sun. Then there are a few historical fiction, one being an allegory. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. The Animal Farm. She's read this before, but she read it again. Then these are just historical fictions. Cry, The Beloved Country. A Tale of Two Cities. The Cat of Boobasties. North and Stand, right? So, she's getting exposed to different genres of reading, and, we're just taking it, for that. And because history can, it can come from so many different angles. It may or may not meet all of the needs that you might want it to meet. We're taking it for what it is. We added in what it is we wanted to add in to make it a little bit more whole for us. I'm also looking at it that with us scheduling it out this way, she's able to get credits for, on her transcript, one for Bible, one for, literature, one for history, and take it, for what it is, so to speak. All right. When it comes to the parents, guide and answer key, as I said, we do this together. So when she is reading, all right, I will have the parents and answer key book. Then she will take the student review book after we finish the actual reading, and she will read the commentary in here. Sorry, if there is a passage from here, she will first read this, then she would read the commentaries that's in the student review, and then we will do the questions and answers orally. All right. So she would read the questions and answer them if she has any problems. I like how they have the page number on here if necessary. It hasn't been needed very often, but there has been a few times, so I would just guide and tell her what page to look. So we would do the questions and answers orally. That way she don't have to do added writing on top of all the essays and projects that she's doing. So we will do that. And at the end of the week on a Friday, she would do the unit tests, and like every unit has 5 lessons. So at the end of the week, after 5 lessons, there's a unit test, and there's a unit test. And after every 5 units, then there is an exam where they're being tested on Bible, literature, and history. And when that period comes, she would do those, bigger tests at the end of the school day. So hopefully that makes sense. So when she just has a unit test at the end of the week, she will just do it right after, we finish all of the answers and questions, because those are pretty easy. But when she has the actual tests, we will wait until the school day is finished. And if she needs to look over anything, she will look over it. But we'll usually just do it at the end of the school day and get that done. All right. And that is how she's able to fit all of it in. We are, as I said, we are now going to be starting unit 14 next week. So we have 2 more units, basically the Middle Ages in book 1 before we start book 2. And when we start book 2 is when she is going to begin her research paper. So she hasn't started the research papers yet. The curriculum recommend that they do at least 6 essays in total throughout the span of the curriculum. She has completed 4 so far, and 3 other projects, right? She did a poster. She built the mice and carré using Legos, and also she did like one of the little cooking thing where she had to write directions, step-by-step directions with 10 or more steps, and then guide somebody through. So she did that with her sisters, right? So our plan is that, keeping in line with scheduling, as soon as she starts this, she's no longer going to be doing any of the other small projects or essays. She's going to be taking 4 or more weeks to focus on her research paper, which I think is like 2,000 to 2,500 words that's required. And then hopefully we will have enough time before the school year is finished where she would do 2 more shorter essays. So that's how we, plan to fit in all the, required essays for this curriculum. Right, so I'm looking at this as it's going to allow us to get the credits that we're trying to achieve for her. We are taking it for what it is. She is learning, world history, and yeah. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful. That's how we fit it all in. Overall, we do like the curriculum. As a Christian family, I do like it. As I said, we, as a Black family, did need to add. I felt like it was necessary for us to add a few extra things. But all in all, I do like it, and it is meeting, what it is I wanted to meet, which is us being able to get history, Bible, and literature credit, and it's all laid out for us. We just have to follow it, and I do like that. I do like the fact that I don't have to go and piece extra things. I chose to add those extra books for us. You don't have to, right? You can do that on you don't even have to add it, quite honestly. You could just have them do that on their own personal reading, but I chose to. But all in all, we do like the curriculum. I really like the fact that it's all laid out and we don't have to do any extras to get these credits. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful. Thank you very much for watching. If I didn't answer any question or anything properly and you wanted to ask a question, you can ask them below. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in another video. Bye.